All right, damn it. If you watched the last video, I got a little bit emotional towards the end there, and I didn't see that one coming. So it's liable to happen again in this video too. So just bear with me. It was a very emotional weekend, to say the least. That's not a bad thing. I'm just glad I was able to share some of these things. So this is going to be the Planet Comicon recap. I'll try to go a little more chronologically. I realized after I jumped from one part to Sunday that I missed a lot of blanks too, so we'll try to go a little more chronologically. So starting Friday at Planet Comicon, it was pretty cool just to begin with. Parking sucked, as always. I don't know why Kansas City downtown cannot seem to get their parking right. They turn people away from garages here. Well, actually, on the first Friday, I was able to park at Barney Plaza, but that was the weird thing. I always park pretty much in the same area because it just makes it a lot easier to go back and forth to the vehicle if I need to get something into the Bartle Hall area where the convention's at. Because a lot of times I'm going back and forth, or I need to grab something for somebody else, or I don't want to carry stuff around or leave it just sitting somewhere. So I park in certain places for a reason. Friday wasn't that bad because it was obviously a Friday. But I pull into the lot, and every time, usually when there's an event going on, they only take cash. They only take cash. So I always make a point. I pull up, I have a 20, go to hand to the guy, and he just goes, "Can't take that. It's cards only." I was like, okay, cool. Grab my wallet again, pull out my debit card, hand it to the guy, and he just goes, "Can't take these." So I'm confused at this point. Like, what do you mean you can't take these? You just told me you can only take a card. And he's literally, that's all he told me. "Can't take these." And he's holding my debit card in his hand. So I'm sitting here still thinking, like, you can't take that bank? You can't, I don't understand. And so I finally I was like, what do you mean you can't take these? Like, "Oh, we can only take credit cards, not debit cards." I'm like, why did you not just say we can only take credit cards? Like, I know you probably said we can only take credit cards, but a lot of people, they just pull out a card. Mine has the Visa logo on it, so I can use it anywhere. And I'm pretty sure I could have used it there. Anyway, so it started out weird. Get on the convention floor. Luckily, we usually have exhibitor badges, so we don't have to deal with all the lines and waiting to get tickets and all that. We've been doing this for a while, so it's a lot easier to just kind of come and go, and we're working a lot of behind the scenes stuff too, so you need to have a little more access. So I was able to kind of skirt waiting with everything else and go straight upstairs and see the floor, and man, it was massive. We knew it was going to be anyway, but most other things that are in there don't take up the whole entire floor on that level, and this one does. And it was just a massive, massive area. So Friday mostly just consisted of kind of getting to get the lay of the land, see a few people I haven't seen in a while. I made a point to go see like Abby and Keith and some of the other people I just maybe don't see throughout the year, or maybe only see every few years. So that's always a nice thing, and that's another reason I like going to conventions, is people that I don't see otherwise. They live in other parts of the country. Some of them even live in other parts of the world. And you get to know them through going to these events. And it's really cool to be able to see them. It's kind of like a weird little family reunion, if you will. So Friday, the biggest thing on my mind still was Saturday morning. We're still working a lot of logistics issues because we had the 10,000 sword salute, which I've talked about before, which we're going to get into that as we go, which kind of leading into that. Went by the Elite Comics booth, and swords for days. When you hear the number like 10,000, and then you know Will had 20,000, those numbers are impressive, but you don't really understand the scope until you see them. I saw boxes and bags full, which is one thing we had to do. We ended up rounding up some muscle around 4 in the afternoon on Friday, and we had to take all of those things over to the arena and the municipal auditorium, which was cool to me. The municipal auditorium was built back in the 1930s, and to be able to go in there and set this up in there in that arena, I don't know, it was really cool feeling to be able to look around in that arena and know there's been some legends that have passed through there, some legends that have performed in there, and to be able to take over that area for a little while, that was a cool thing in itself. So we load everything up, we take it over to the municipal arena, and we're just leaving it waiting for Saturday morning. In the interim, we went back to Elite. Me, Jessica, Elite Supergirl, and Jesse, who also fills in as Supergirl and does some other costumes as well. We decided we're going to go around the convention floor. So we had a giant trash can on wheels full of pink swords. And when you start walking the floor, I didn't have to and when I say sell, we were taking donations, but when I say sell, I guess means getting the donations for it. But I didn't have to sell any of these. They sold themselves. The response was phenomenal. People already knew Gabe's story. The news did a fantastic job of covering it. Obviously, we try to put the word out there. Planet Comicon has been a great co-host on this event. Obviously, Elite Comics just knocked it out of the park again. But a lot of people knew. And if they didn't know, they were wondering why these three people are walking around with a giant trash can full of pink swords. So they would come up and go, hey, what's the deal? And anytime that we mention certain things, people ask zero questions. We mentioned Gabe, obviously, and a lot of people already knew his story, so they instantly wanted to donate. And a lot of people, here's the cool thing too, a lot of people didn't want a sword. They weren't going to be there for whatever reason, so they said, hey, here's X amount of dollars. And we got everything from, there were little kids that would even come up. And that was the best to me. Little kids that don't really know exactly what's going on, but you kind of explain what you're doing. And we don't get into all the details for the kids, but when I say, hey, we're trying to help Children's Mercy, and we're trying to do a toy drive for them this Christmas, the kids are like, oh, okay. And even if a child gave me a penny, that meant a lot to me. It really, really did. So we did. We had everything from kids coming up, handing us pennies, to adults that were handing us much bigger faces on those bills. Incredible. Incredible. So we're walking around the floor, we're explaining things. And again, when we mentioned Gabe, people were instantly in. But when we mentioned Children's Mercy, again, people were like, got it. Here's some money. Just walking around the con floor for 30 minutes or so, probably a little bit more because we like to talk. Okay, let's say 30 minutes of actively trying to distribute swords. $500. 30 minutes worth of here you go, thank you kind of stuff. $500. And that was just our efforts. As we were walking around as well, we were distributing swords to some of our friends that had tables. Kansas City Cosplay Booth was one of them. There were several others. I can't recall the names. Sorry, but thank you so much if you helped in any way, shape, or form. But we put them up on booths, and people were leaving money at booths. So we'd go around occasionally and collect it. I can't tell you how much money. Or people would just see me and be like, hey, I didn't get to see you earlier, or I didn't get to come to the event. Here's some money. Thank you. Just incredible. And then Friday evening, Friday I kept it pretty low key. I mean, I was running around a lot and trying to coordinate stuff and trying to answer a lot of questions for people. That's normally kind of what I do anyway. Logged 7-something miles on my feet that Friday, but it was fantastic. Went and hung out afterwards with some friends. We stayed with some friends over in Overland Park. Thank you, Chuck, for having us over, and thank you for Whitney. Thank you to Whitney for being an amazing host as usual. That leads into Saturday. Saturday was early morning because we did have the 10,000 sword salute for Gabe Marshall that morning. So about 7:15, we left the house to go to the venue, and they were already telling us parking was full everywhere, which was still just weird. I found some great parking. I'm not complaining at all. I actually got to park free, so it worked out in my advantage to kind of be turned away from that one. Walked to the parking garage. There were plenty of spaces, so I know a lot of people reserve them, but it seemed kind of silly to have it blocked off and marked full at 7:45 or so in the morning once we finally got there. We met everybody in the lobby of the venue, and we went over to the Municipal Auditorium. Municipal Auditorium is like directly across the hall, or across the street from Bartle Hall. There's a skywalk that connects it. It's all one kind of giant complex at the end of the day. We go over there, and we realize we had a task at hand. There's a lot of swords, 10,000 plus, between, I'd say 10 to 15,000, because we distributed things throughout the Friday, but we're literally, and then I went through this motion because they're in plastic sleeves, and Michael, he found out that if you just kind of bump them on your knee, they pop right out of the sleeve, so you see everybody's bumping them and tossing them, and we kind of had an assembly line going, and I'll throw a picture here of kind of what we were doing, and we're all unpacking all these swords. People are putting them on tables, and people are slowly filtering into the arena. And as time went on, more and more people start showing up. We're trying to get sound working, so the sound guy comes out and asks who they want to be the MC. And Michael again, and thank you, by the way, Michael. I was not expecting that. I didn't think anybody was going to be like, all right, yeah, do it. Michael goes, Panda can be the MC. And I was like, I guess I'm the MC. So the guy hands me the mic, and for those who don't know, having a microphone in my hand is one of the few places where I'm the most comfortable. I don't know what it is about it. I've been that way as long as I can remember. I love to address a crowd. I started early on. I can't even. Jane, that used to live across the street from us when I was a very very young man, she told me years later she used to love, because I would sit around and I would kind of perform. I would do these little freestyle raps as a young man. I mean, I loved rap for a long time. This ain't nothing new to me. But when I was 5, 6, and 7, I was already starting to come up with my own. I'm sure it was awful nursery rhyme type stuff, but I wanted to perform. And going into ROTC and stuff, I was briefing people, I was teaching and doing those kind of things. Once I got into the Air Force, I was briefing larger crowds, and as I developed and matured in my career, I was requested by commanders. I'm briefing massive crowds, before all kind of big events, and now to be able to continue that on, that meant a lot to me as well. That's something I haven't been able to do in a while, and I'm going to try my best not to cry again, but I'm going to keep explaining as we go, but I tried to stay away from the mic for a while, even though I wanted it so bad right then. I did a couple quick announcements just to make sure that I was comfortable the audio equipment worked. But we're getting everybody in. We're starting to distribute the swords. News crews are there. Jessica and Will are doing interviews. Jessica grabbed me. I did a quick interview. And then Gabe's family showed up. Josh and Bethany, I love them. They are amazing people. And McKinley, hey McKinley, how you doing? The rest, they had some other family members there as well, and it was amazing to look over and see them. And it was a lot of emotions. I didn't know exactly what to say, what to do, so I just went up and talked to them like I always do. I thought that was the best bet, and I think that was the best bet. And we just instantly started joking. I've always had a bit of a rapport with Josh. I don't know Bethany quite as well, but I don't know. It's just something. Me and Josh always had a bit of a rapport, and they did an interview real quick, and so that I think I kind of wanted that to happen a little bit on purpose, just so there was a little more distraction for them, because we had so many things. I think we wanted everything to be as perfect as it could. And so we wanted to keep doing those, but we also wanted to spend time with them and keep them engaged. And it all worked out fantastic. We got to a point where we were filtering everybody back into the arena floor. We got the swords distributed. And we had a cosplay parade prior to that. And they start bringing in all the cosplayers. And I think it was mostly on the 501st and the Dark Legion side, the Star Wars groups. And forgive me if I misstate any of the group names. There's no intent behind that. I just can't remember it all. But the Star Wars groups came out, and they all had their sabers. Many of them had a saber and a sword, and that was remarkable. There's some cool pictures, too, that have been distributed around. But I remember one, and you just see Darth Vader walking up. And Darth Vader can be ominous, but once you kind of get to know the faces behind those, it was really cool to see Darth Vader leading this and coming into that floor with those other cosplayers and just kind of making everybody take notice. Darth Vader kind of commands attention, if you will. And next thing I know, some of the Planet Comicon folks came over. They came, here's what's going to go down. You got a couple minutes to say this. Get the crowd pumped. Let's go. And I'm getting this from every direction. I got camera crews there. I got film crews there, and they're all like, "Can you do this? Can you do that?" So I'm like trying to fulfill all those needs, because I know everybody wants to get that good shot. Everybody wants to be able to hear everything. Certain things need to be covered, so I'm trying to take that all in. And for those who don't know, the 10,000 sword event, it happened. We got about a week's notice, so to coordinate getting swords, getting donations, getting people in place, it could have been a logistic nightmare. And I'll say it was, and not by anybody's fault. It's just a lot to take in for a long time planning. But the execution we were able to pull off with such precision. I know there were some bumps, don't get me wrong. I know some people did have some complaints. But all things said and done at the end, I grabbed that microphone, I walked out there, and I became someone else. I can't tell you what I said. I can't tell you what I did. I can't tell you where I was. And that's kind of the thing too. I get in my mode. I turn it on and I go. And my mode was on. And so I'm out there. I remember just kind of walking back and forth. And I'm just trying to get that crowd hyped. And I'm seeing it and I'm feeling it. And I'm getting that energy off. And you can hear the excitement in my voice now because I'm feeling it again. I'm looking out in that crowd. And I don't have to cue them at all. I have to tell them anything. They are on board. We are all one. And I tell them, raise the swords up in the air for Gabe Marshall, and just sword after sword after sword. And some people hold 4 or 5 swords, and incredible. And I get them pumped up again. I want to see them again, and boom, incredible. I hand the microphone off to Jessica. She says a few words. I take the mic back. We start clearing the crowd out. And as I notice that the Star Wars folks are starting to leave, I hear something. It wasn't tears. And you can't really hear tears, I guess. But it wasn't crying. It wasn't sobbing. It wasn't applause. It was Gabe. 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 The crowd started to chant. I had nothing to do with it. It was completely organic. That entire crowd, and I can't tell you how many people were there. The number, honestly, is irrelevant to me. If one person came and showed support, that meant the world to me. To see that crowd, that was incredible. And to know that Gabe's parents and family were able to experience that and see the love that this convention, this city, this community, this whole region showed to Gabe Marshall and his memory, it shows you the impact that kid had. And it was remarkable. It was absolutely incredible. I've never in my life experienced anything like that. And I'm humbled and I'm honored to be a part of that. And I thank you all for trusting me to get up there and just rock that house and get that crowd involved. Because, man, I wanted Gabe to hear us. I wanted Gabe to hear us so bad. I wanted that crowd loud. And, man, absolutely incredible. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So yeah, that was Saturday morning. Then we had a really cool thing. We got to take Gabe's family around for a while, and I was kind of here, there, and everywhere. I'm busy, and I hate to say I'm busy so much, but I am. So if I didn't get to talk to you, if I didn't get to see you, I'm so sorry. Most people I've kind of learned, if you see me, grab me real quick. I may only be able to say, hey, I gotta go, but I want to see you. I really, really do. Let's grab a selfie real quick. Let's say hi real quick. I may not be able to stay long, so don't take it personal if it seems like I'm blowing you off. I promise I'm not trying to blow you off. I just have a lot of commitments, and we were on our way to some. So we're taking Gabe's family around. I know they wanted to meet some people. I got to go with Bethany to meet like John Cusack. She and the family got to meet Alice Cooper, I believe Danny Trejo as well. They wanted to meet Jason Momoa, so we were making that happen. And I look over at one point, here comes Jason Momoa walking up. He's wearing a Chiefs jersey, and on the back it says Momoa. Apparently a fan gave him a jersey and one for, I think it's Henry Cavill, I'm not sure how you say it, the Superman in the newer movies. And his had a 10 on it, and so Jason Momoa was wearing it for the signings at his booth and all that. Big dude. It's a big dude. And he's every bit as beautiful as people have said. Don't get me wrong. He's a gorgeous, gorgeous man. There's just no getting around it. So it was cool to be able to walk them around the floor and just kind of spend some time with them. And then they got to see even more people throughout the floor walking around with the pink swords. So that was a cool thing this weekend too. We continue to distribute the swords. We continue to sell shirts throughout the weekend. I sat at the Elite Comics booth for quite a while. And shout outs to Lauren Carmack. Thank you. You manned that booth pretty much all weekend. And I know you had some help from time to time, but that was you mostly sitting there. And I appreciate that. I really, really do. And I know Gabe's family does. I know Will over at Elite does. It meant a lot. And so just thank you. Thank you for that. I tried to sit there whenever I had some free time just so I could spend some time with Lauren and break the monotony for her, but I also wanted to just help with the donations. And it was really cool to see all the people. Again, even more kids would come up for that, adults, and just collecting amazing, amazing donations all weekend long. Another cool thing was, as I'm walking along the floor, you kind of expect to see certain things, but a lot of people are advertised. I'm walking along, and all of a sudden there's Hacksaw Jim Duggan, WWE Hall of Famer. Later on, I go back to get a picture with him. Just the greatest guy ever. His prices were super reasonable. He wasn't on the program guy. I don't know where he came from, but I was glad he did. I went and talked to him, and I was just kind of starstruck. He asked me who my favorite wrestler was. I was like, Brock Lesnar. And don't get me wrong, I love Brock, but I don't know why Brock, of all the names that could have came out of him, and he did say the current wrestlers. I think if he would have said any wrestler, I may have said something different. I'm not one that panders and be like, oh, you are. But he's a current wrestler. I said Brock Lesnar, and I felt like an idiot. So, but he was super cool with it. He took some pictures with me, and then he just kind of asking about me. Like he was a very people person. He wasn't in any rush. And of course there was no line either at the time, so that actually helped. He had lines later on, which I was very glad to see. He's such a great dude. But he's asking how I got to the area, if I was from there, and I told him my story, how I was a vet, a quicker version, but how I was a vet and how I came to be in the area. And man, that was like I just became his best friend. He would not quit talking to me. He took some more pictures, chatted me up. And when I saw him throughout the weekend, he kind of gave me a nod and a thumbs up kind of deal. And I went back and had an autograph done, which I'll put in the next video. But he remembered me, and he kind of asked me, he goes, so did you think any more on your favorite current wrestler? That one didn't feel right. And I was like, son of a gun. And I got it right this time. I was like, yes, sir. Shinsuke Nakamura is my favorite current wrestler, which he absolutely is. But it was cool that Hacksaw kind of remembered and knew I was flustered. I was in my Ghostbusters gear when I saw him Sunday to get the autograph, and he complimented me up and down on that. But it was really cool that he remembered it. He sees a lot of faces, and for him to remember something like that meant a lot as well. I know I'm still missing stuff from Saturday. Just running around, trying to see as many people as I could, shaking hands, and I didn't get to autograph any babies, which I was hoping to do, but, maybe next time. That's how it goes. Sunday, we've already covered some of Sunday. We got up, first thing on the agenda was Walkin and Rollin costume, so I was scrambling once I got there to get everything knocked out for that, make sure everybody was kind of in place, knew what was going on, and tried not to make it too obvious. I wanted to keep the surprise. I dropped some little comments here and there, but it was hard. I've kept this Walkin and Rollin thing a secret since November. Even the ones that I included, like the Hans family, the Walkers, and some of the others, I didn't really tell them too much, and because I wanted them to be surprised. I gave them more than most, obviously, but I didn't want them to spoil surprise, and they were great too. Everybody kept a secret. So thanks for that, and thanks again for everybody that came out and supported Walkin and Rollin costumes. Check them out. They were in a great area. It was Ron Burgundy, the guy that does that, David Babcock, and you got to check him out. Great guy. I can't say enough good about him. He was there. Then Walkin and Rollin was next to him. A couple booths down, we had the Zombie Walk for Hunger, who obviously I love them too. I always work with them every year. So just it was just great to be able to work with those folks again and to see everybody on Saturday and moving into Sunday. I'm on Sunday now. Forgive me. But after that, it was just more of kind of hanging out. I needed to take things easy a bit. Found some really cool vendors, which again, I'll talk about in the next video. Got my autograph done, and finally got to catch up with so many people that I missed all weekend. Tens of thousands of people. I don't know what the number count will be. Saturday was just insane. I'd say there was at least 70,000 people at the convention over the weekend, at least. And I think that's fairly conservative estimate. I could be wrong. I don't know, but it seemed like there was a lot of people going through that area over the weekend. So, just fantastic Sunday. Wrapped it up, just went home afterwards, and just pretty much just vegged out after that. I'm so sore, still sore. Going back real quick, Saturday night we went back to Chuck and Whitney's because obviously I was staying there, as I mentioned, but we had so many people that came over, just kind of had a little get-together. Not really a party, just a little get-together. Everybody kind of talking away from the convention floor madness, and that's always nice. We were playing drop mix and stuff, and just eating and shooting the shit, and it couldn't have been better. Because again, there's so many people I only see at conventions, but in the environment, it's really hard to talk to people sometimes. It's crowd noise, just the crowds in general moving, so it's hard to pull people aside. So to be able to have an off-site thing where you can catch up with people, I really enjoy that. And I gotta get up to the city more often and hang out with some of you. We just don't see each other enough, so I gotta work on that, don't I? But I guess I'll wrap it up for this video. That was just a quick rundown of Saturday. I know if you weren't there, it probably didn't mean much to you because I'm just rambling on and on. But this weekend was it was a great weekend. I really have no complaints. Anything I do, it's just so minor. It's just nitpicky stuff. Or when you look at the scale of things, what was done in such short time with such a large volume of people, I can't complain. I'm all smiles after this weekend. So thank you, Chris Jackson, and everybody that helped put Planet Comicon together. You guys did a great job. You really did. Best show in the area, hands down. Not another one like it. Let's do it again next year. I believe the dates have been announced for March 29th through 31st. Same bat time. Well, not same bat time. Well, probably same bat times. Same bat channel at Bartle Hall. And unless something just crazy happens, I'll see you there. So, again, I'll put some links to various things and people in the description below. Like, subscribe, comment as always. And thank you for checking me out. And hey, thanks for everybody I got to meet this weekend at Planet Comicon. See you next time.